Moscow, this site, a military parade with troops marching and tanks rolling in Red Square. It's a dress rehearsal for the country's Victory Day on Monday, commemorating the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany in 1945. And Russia at war once again is bringing back Cold War concerns about the threat of its nuclear arsenal. CBS's Ian Lee reports.
This is how Russia rattles sabers, testing a missile capable of carrying a nuclear weapon more than 10,000 miles, nearly twice the distance from Moscow to Miami.
Риски весьма и весьма существенные.
Russia's foreign minister recently called the risk of nuclear war considerable. And Russian talk shows have debated how quickly a bomb could reach Europe, even showing how one might create a nuclear tsunami to wipe out the UK. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has tried to play down the threat.
Nobody wants to see a nuclear war. Nobody can win.
But as the war rages on in Ukraine, a mushroom cloud wouldn't suddenly just appear on the horizon.
The West would have intelligence.
So there'd be a warning.
Yeah, there would be warnings that these warheads were being deployed at a period where it's not available for sea.
Retired Commander Andy Corbett captained 2 of the UK's Vanguard-class submarines, capable of delivering its Trident nuclear missile. How easy would it be for Putin to launch a nuclear weapon?
My understanding of the Russian system is that it's very similar to the British one. So the authority to launch must come from Putin, although the decision rests with the political leader. The ability to do that doesn't.
The world witnessed the destructive power of American nuclear bombs nearly 80 years ago in Japan. Corbett believes one going off in Ukraine would likely be
compromise, including interests of everyone, but that was in vain. They didn't want to hear us, and that means they had completely different plans, and we could see that. They were preparing a punishing operation in Donbass to intrude on our historic land. In Kiev, they were saying that they might get nuclear weapons, and NATO started exploring the lands close to us, and that became an obvious threat to our country and to our borders. Everything was telling us that there is a need to fight with banderovцы and fascists. I will repeat, we saw how they start and develop military infrastructure. There were constant supplies of the most modern military equipment. The danger was growing every day, and Russia acted. That was the only decision and the right decision of an independent, sovereign, strong country. The United States of America, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, started talking about their unique nature, diminishing people. But we are a different country. Russia has got a different character. We will never refuse our love and respect for the traditions and respect of traditions of all the...
I think it's important that people begin to discuss what a thermonuclear war would mean. Now, we need to understand, we think, oh, well, we're big and we're bad and we have all this stuff. Russia is roughly comparable to the United States in nuclear power. They have hypersonic missiles that we do not have, that can absolutely evade any detection, any timely detection, and they can fire missiles from Russia and reach San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, Detroit, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., New York City. And if you think about just Virginia, where I happen to live, if there were a nuclear war, and keep in mind, they also have a very large and effective fleet of nuclear submarines that lie off the coasts of the United States. They have a great number of nuclear tipped missiles, and they can evade any defenses we have. So just in Virginia, if you look at it, all of Northern Virginia would be essentially annihilated. There would hardly be any human life remaining in Loudoun County, Prince William County, Fairfax County, Arlington, Alexandria. The Pentagon lies in Arlington County. The Pentagon would simply be a glowing mass of molten sand. There would be no human life there, and there would be no human life for many miles around it. Just across the Potomac, the nation's capital, there would be no life remaining in the nation's capital. The Capitol building would disappear forever. All of the monuments, all of these glorious things, nothing would remain.
Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakal Kodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. This is Revelations 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. In the 3 videos you just seen demonstrate this prophecy coming to pass in front of our very eyes. You could see that the world powers, namely Russia and America, are building up their forces and are getting ready for a third world war, because you see, America is very dangerously trading aggressive stances with Russia, and not only Russia, but countries like China, Iran. It's doing it through Israel, North Korea, and I believe even Venezuela and Cuba is getting a bit of America's puffing stance. But the point being in these videos that I wanted to show is that though it is not being shown repetitively on mainstream media, these things are taking place, right? The mainstream media is not there to inform you. It is there to distract and entertain you as a mass, right? The American populace, that is, right? And if you or your family, your friends, loved ones rely on the mainstream media to get your news about current events, then you're going to be misinformed, okay? This is why you have to actively go out and search for what is actually going on in the world, right? That being said, those 3 videos are showing basically the temperature of how close we are to a heated battle, right? And as the middle video, the second video, it actually gives Putin and the Russian perspective how they see this war, right? They see that America and the NATO and its NATO allies are encroaching on its land, right? Which is, for the most part, it's somewhat true, right? You have basically NATO expanding to basically the border of Russia, which again, NATO, if you're unsure what it is, it's the North Atlantic Trade Organization, which ultimately was put together to basically combat and to defend against the future Russian threat, which was posed after the Second World War, right? For the most part, it's the westernized powers, right? The Edomite Empire. That's what the NATO is, right? And in Revelations, the NATO is basically referred to as the beast, which the whore rides upon. The whore being America, or also referred to as Babylon the Great. Now, let's read this. This is Matthew 16:3. And in the morning it shall be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. And ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the time? So you see, the Messiah, he was astonished that the Israelites in his time couldn't tell what was going on. They couldn't see the signs that were taking place in front of their eyes and understand what was set to come, right? And this is obviously happening again today, right? And namely, this is because prophecy isn't being understood, nor is it taught, right? They definitely don't teach it in Christian schools and a lot of these other Hebrew Israelite schools like IUIC and ISUPK. Prophecy is rarely gone into, right? The biggest camp that goes into prophecy would be that of Great Millstone, because again, that's what the apostles focus on, right? This is why this video here is talking about the future World War III that will take place, that is prophesied in the Bible to take place, which is that first scripture I read. And as you could see, it's getting close, right? These countries, they're basically, they've crossed the Rubicon, right? They've crossed they're close to crossing the point of no return. That being said, there's many assistants and advisor to Putin who have said that the way he has politically set himself up, he has himself crossed the Rubicon. He has gone to a point where he can no longer return from his threats of using nuclear weaponry, right? That they've put in a nuclear strike as a strategic defensive move in case the Western powers do attack and assist Ukraine. And because the economy that they've, some insiders of the Putin regime have admitted that Putin's war, right, this war being waged with the Ukraine, is in fact collapsing the Russian economy. Okay, so that being said, for Russia to go this far and not take it to a point where they're going to totally seek to dominate the Ukrainian continent and basically take over that place, it's almost a non-starter, right? They see it as it's gonna happen. Now, that being said, as we've all been inundated with Ukrainian propaganda, right, the Western powers and NATO will not give up NATO, it appears, and this more than likely will be a hot point where a war will begin. Now, remember, the Third World War isn't going to take place until they mandate those MOTBs, right? Or, I mean, the nuclear weaponry, right? The nuclear explosions and the fighting and all that point, right? There will be wars that will break out, and this may simply be one of many, because again, remember, World War III, the previous world wars were not declared world wars until far after what we know today as World War I and World War II had began, right? And it's going to more than likely be the same today, right? This Ukrainian war will more than likely be rounded up into all the continual wars which will come after this. Okay, this is Romans 13 and 11, and that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. Now, this is more relevant today than it was in the time of the Messiah, right? 2,000 years ago, right? This now, from looking at the signs to observing them and just seeing what's going around the world, we understand that we are living in the last days, right? We are living in the last seconds of the Edomite Empire, right? And the Messiah, from all the NASA cut videos and all the observations of solar objects being filmed, we understand that the Lord, He's here, right? He's here in our solar system, right? But they are simply waiting for the Most High to say go, okay? Apostle Tahar has said that the elect has already been sealed. I believe this as well. I've seen many signs of 144:7, right? If you understand, the 144 represents the elect, and also the 7 represents completion. I've been seeing tons of that, okay? So this is more than likely why everything is basically going into light speed, as Donald Trump said, right? This is why we're seeing so many prophecies coming to pass, so many agendas being pushed, right? Just recently, you had Carl Schwab's World Economic Forum sign an agreement with the UN to come together to forward and speed up the 2030 agenda, which both of them are seeking to push. So this shows you, man, that these devils, they understand that their time is running out, and in fact that they're behind schedule, which is why they're starting to speed up. Okay, so that being said, we should also be aware that what time we're living in, man. These are the last seconds of the last seconds. This is Jeremiah 51:6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Yahweh Bashim El Shai's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Now, this right here is not talking about physically fleeing out of America, right? Because right here, Babylon is basically America, okay? But this is telling you Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline, to separate your ways from the American way of life, right? You need to separate yourself from this system, right? Doesn't mean you need to leave America. No, you could stay here in America, because again, here in America is where the majority of the salvation will come from. And again, as many brothers and I have stated, if the Lord wants to take you out, He's going to take you out either here, Morocco, or Moscow. Doesn't matter where you go, right? So the best thing to do is sit tight, find a place to stay for the time being, and study, stay prayed up, and separate yourself from the system, from the ways of the American lifestyle. There's nothing here for you, Jake, right? You Negro, Latino, Native Americans, though they may dangle a carrot in front of our faces, realize that it's a goal that you are never meant to catch, all right? So hopefully this video was edifying. Hopefully it shows you where we are with current World War III updates. So till the next time, Akim, I'm going to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh B'Hashem El Shai, B'Hashem Rakok Radash. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles, and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.